What's good, everybody? What's good? Welcome back to yet another episode of Off the Strength, where we're giving you the inside look into all things wellness culture. I'm a trainer called Tony, and of course with me, I got some gentlemen of extraordinary league. Guys, let's go around the table and introduce ourselves, please.
KR Jones is in the building. Good morning.
Your trainer, Corey, a.k.a. Mr. Corey, if you're nasty.
Okay. Shout out to the homie Troy's out there doing family stuff with family. All right. And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we are in store for a variety hour. That's when we are getting into all that we've been through. So hopefully that your next week can be a little bit better and you started off on the right foot. So I'd like to kick this thing around the room a little bit, something like this. Guys, let the people know how your week was, if you had anything fun, enticing going on. What's up, fellas? How we moving?
Man, you know me, I was hitting the streets as always, so I was out here. I got to see my good brother yesterday, do his thing in front of the Microsoft folks.
Hey!
I
was there for that.
Using his $1,000 words and pressing all these, oh my God, this guy's vocabulary is extensive.
He's so articulate.
His diction is ridiculous. So that was cool. From there, I also got a chance to do... Wow, I'm blanking right now, but I was definitely in these streets right now, you know what I mean?
You were sliding around, moving and grooving?
Yeah, I was sliding around doing different things, networking.
I hear you.
All that jam.
I hear you. All right. Brother Corey, what's going on over here? Corey's over here body rolling, and I'm going to have to switch to the other side of the room if he hits another one of these rolls on me.
I'm trying to keep it loose, man.
I hear you, but I need you to be a little tighter.
Time and place, brother. Time and place.
Hey, man,
Exactly.
You got to stretch when you got to stretch. Look, man, you got to fit it in where you can get it in.
No problem.
I had this weekend. I got... Yeah, you like that, right? Write that down.
Don't write.
I had my new class launch off, so I did the core and posterior chain class. Like nice little focus, little choreograph through to the music, making it one nice flow. It was a good time with that. I did 2 of those. I got a chance to go for a nice long walk through Brooklyn. Always like that time to like get into my thoughts and recover and think about what I'm, plan my day and think about my past week and what I did well and what I need to change and all that good stuff.
Corey, just building back off of what you're saying, thinking about the past week and thinking about all the stuff that you did, you are remiss if you don't mention this whole GPS seminar that you actually did this past weekend.
I was going to leave that on you. You were there as well. I figured, you with the lead up.
It was a
let
thing.
You lay that out.
Go ahead, tell people what you was there too, man.
We got it in. We had the seminar talking to other podcasts. It was a beautiful event. It was primarily other people in the podcast industry, but there were a few people who were looking to get into it, but primarily that. And we answered a few questions, got to meet some amazing people, got to lay down, have some good words with some impressive folks. Some
For
people
sure.
who led the way, like Mandy, who is really the reason how we got on this.
Shout out to Mandy and Weezy for sure. Horrible Decisions is heavy.
Horrible Decisions gave us the inspiration to say, okay, this is where we should look at, and then we ended up here after that.
Hell yeah. I say also shout out to the homie A. King's been like a solid amount of years before I seen that dude, so getting to see and connect and understand a little bit of how that whole situation is moving from the PNC days to the LSN days. Connecting those circles and making those dots happen is always a pleasure. But also want to shout out to all the GPS podcasts that pulled up and was showing much love to the space. So we got to salute y'all right back. The Off the Strength squad over here, we down with OPP. Other people's pods is what I'm trying to tell you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was about to say.
No, not that OPP. We on a different OPP.
Because y'all signed the non-disclosure agreement.
Other people's pods, man.
Okay.
Other people's pods.
That's what we coming here for.
Okay, you got it.
We down? You not down with OPP?
I was about to call my attorney.
I am down.
You
with
know
both.
me. So shout out to all y'all that pulled up. Make sure you hit the line because we coming down and we want to collab, man. So let everybody know what's going on. Always here to get in the like mind and like spirits with the creatives and get to touch people inside that space because, there's some compelling ass stories that came across in that, and that was really dope. Honored again to have been wanting to be in attendance to now being able to have the privilege to speak on the panel. It's always going to be a good thing because it shows that transition, right? Speaking back into that transitional space. Yes, I did touch down on that Microsoft space for the second time last night, as Brother Jones was alluding to. Always fun inside there. And then immediately after that, I had to kick over to another spot that we have opening up down at Canal Street. So it was a busy kind of week, fellas. We was out here with the movers and the shakers, the fighters and the exciters and everybody that's in between that space. And I don't know if you know like I know, but people should be paying attention. The time is here. The time is now, fellas. Y'all feeling this? I don't know. I'm 2 coffees in. I'm going to talk that talk right now.
I'm no coffees in, but I'm feeling you, brother.
This
I'm
is
here.
what I'm trying to tell
I got a
you.
little extra espresso.
Yeah,
if you
that cup is
need a
real
shot of
cute.
that.
You can keep
You
that.
need a shot of this. This coffee ain't cute. This thing got power, boy.
Listen,
I
man. Whatever shot you got to shoot, I want it to be the best shot, Corey.
Get in your kidneys.
I want this shot to be the best shot, and this is going to be the way that we kick this thing off. Tell people how they need to shoot their shot when we get into this first segment coming down with your trainer's trainer. Let me know what's going on.
So, talking into your trainer's trainer today, I want to talk about some of the questions that I've gotten from other trainers talking about programming, getting advice on how to start off their programming, how to figure out how to program for clients, and then also for themselves. I know you guys get hit with that question a lot, like looking at how you would program, how you put things together. So first off, what I want to talk about is when you're putting that together, think of it in a couple of different steps. Think about what movement you're going to execute and what body parts you're going to get into. Talk about how so warm those parts up first. So look at it from a warm up into an engagement of that specific movement or load, getting to that dynamic movement, then into a little more explosion, and then working into recovering and cooling yourselves down. I always look at setting my programming in that manner. So that's the way that I continue through it, and then you just apply whatever philosophies or modalities you're adding in on top of that. So looking into those modalities, what's Kyle, for you, what's the main modality you jump to when you got like new clients coming in?
When I have new clients coming in, my goal first and foremost is always injury prevention first. So I want to make you better. So I have to understand what you do for a living. What does your day look like? What type of foods are you eating? All before I even decide what's happening workout-wise. I need to know if you're sitting at a desk for 6 hours a day, with your shoulders rounded in or typing, or if you're standing up, you're on the move, all of the above. So once I find out what your day-to-day looks like, I can then understand what your body is going through primarily, and then we can train for the movements that you're especially weak in and things that we need to strengthen and focus on to get better. From that point on, it's about volume and consistency. So just getting better at your weaknesses and making everything all work together as one.
That's what's up.
Prospery, man.
Tone, I know it's pretty rare that someone gets the grace and presence of Tone as their personal trainer.
Especially now, you're going to have to cut a much bigger check.
Yeah, you got to cut some checks. But on the rare occasion where that would occur, what modality are you looking at? How are you looking at going into your training clients first?
First, I have to be interested in you. That's going to be the first thing. That's the most strict of.
Wait, you don't have a fuck you price?
No, I don't have it. At this point, I'm not going through anything that I don't want to do. So I got to understand who you are. Am I interested in working with you? That's the first criteria that you have to meet. Remember, you're applying to my program, not the other way around. So if you make it past that first thing, the next level is going to be somewhere along that lines of what Kyle is talking about, where I hear the intake portion. So you should be listening as a practitioner more than I'm instructing initially, right? So I got to learn fact-finding. I put it into the same context as going to a doctor, right? If your doctor's just coming in and he's talking to you most of the time and not actually asking and probing for all of these different questions that Kyle was going through, how good is my product going to be? So regardless of the modality, I don't believe in bad exercise. I believe in bad prescription. So it doesn't really even matter where you want to go, how you start, because it's super relative and have to get really granular, and that's just how I work. Okay, what are you trying to do? How close can we get you to that space? And that's pretty much it at the brass tacks. If you are an interesting enough person and I'd like to work with you and make you move, okay, I'll meet you where you are and I'll help you get to that other space. But it's going to be at a premium dollar.
So it's safe to say Tone is only working with Oprah?
Yeah. That's why I'm here. I cleared my book in
Oprah.
February for Oprah. We were going to go back.
Oprah.
That's exactly right. The whole Harpo team. It's like, you can come through.
I got dibs on Stedman. I'm gonna get Stedman right.
Whatever, man. It's all good as long as
Show
the whole
them how
family
to serve them plates.
The family got to move strong, man. We got to make sure that everybody's in there moving the right way. So definitely appreciate that perspective, Corey. You got anything you want to put on the cap of that?
Nah, I would just say when you're coming into it, looking at it from that perspective of making sure you're establishing how to get that client locked in, how if you really are the person you want to train with. And in reference to Kyle's fuck you price, a lot of people might not know what that means. You get to a point where you start being able to tell clients no, then you put a number in your head that says, if you pay this, no matter what, even if I don't want to deal with you, I'll still do it for this. The first time I did that was based on hours. I was like, I don't want to do the 5 a.m. training shit no more. So here's my fuck you price for that. The problem with a fuck you price is sometimes people will pay it. And then I got stuck with like 20-hour days, 3 days a week. And I was like, nah, never again. Sometimes you just got to have a hard no on that.
That's exactly where I stand. This is the place that I live. Extremely consistent in that space.
Sometimes you got to go with that hard no.
Nah, fam, that's not for me. Sorry. Dollar don't mean that much right now. I got to move on to something else.
Provided your dollar got high enough that you could say that.
Exactly.
You know?
It's all an earned process. And inside that earned process, Corey, we got to be able to make sure that we keep our eyes going forward. And in that style, you know, in that spirit, sir, we're going to move on into this next topic. We're going to get into this ripped from the headlines. Now, guys, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to try to make sure that we understand the good, the bad, and the ugly once again this week. So we're going to start it off a little something like this. We came in with the good because I like to ease this transition. I don't like to be an angry person all the time, but sometimes I read some shit and it just gets me mad. So we start off in this space first where all of us were talking about how busy we are and we're increasing our expenditures all over the time. Time is money, but time is also something that is increasingly a depreciating value. So when I looked at an article from ladder.com and it talks a little bit about how long we can go in between these workouts, and as they're being sparing, would you like to know that you might be able to go a little bit longer than you might have previously thought before you start to see any of those downturns in your progress and inside of your performance aspects? So it turns out that the amount of time that you can avoid the gym before you start seeing and feeling serious differences in different aspects of your fitness is going to vary depending on which component we're looking at. So, for example, you'll see a deterioration in your cardiovascular ability before you'll notice a decline in strength. You guys feel that? You had any times where you took a little bit of time off? Corey, you were just talking about this the last couple weeks, hamstring issue. Strength is probably still there, but there's going to be a facet that drops off a little bit.
I think that's also like relative terms. Like depends on where your cardio capacity is and what your standard for where you expect your body to be is. Because if you're talking about a high level, athlete, you're going to have a different response than if you're talking about the average everyday person.
Right. So this is all subject to the multipliers that you're coming into beforehand, right? Mm-hmm. So given that we're all professionals inside here, I'm talking just specifically to those professionals right now in this context, have you noticed in your performance the time that you spend, okay, Kyle, you were talking about you haven't been strength training as much, you've been hitting a little bit more yoga, right? Have you noticed your strength start to drop, or did you see anything in that kind of context?
I mean, my strength is still there because of how much volume that I did, but the drop was definitely in, I would say, the endurance of it.
Right. So this is what I'm talking about. So there's different facets that we go inside here, and those facets are going to be impacted differently depending on the kind of time that we associate with it, right? So something like a cardiovascular decline to a fit person is probably not going to be noticed until about 1 week to 14 days, right? Okay, muscular endurance, which is what Kyle was just talking about, is going to take somewhere around about that 2 weeks time for you to understand that. And that's the volume of training. So if you're doing 50 squats, if you're doing, anything with higher numbers on that side, you'll see that you won't be able to get back into that tank. Would you guys have any guess as to what has the fastest drop off in all these different facets of fitness if you take a little bit of time off?
Probably your maximum explosion, like your VO2 max related things, like your max rep weight or like fastest time in a sprint, something along those lines.
So power.
That very high end of the power curve.
Power curve. Kyle, what you got on that?
I'm going to say flexibility.
And I'm going to say that the youth wins this one out because apparently flexibility, you'll start to notice a reasonable decline within about 7 days, where all the other facets that Corey is mentioning, you'll still have somewhere in that 2 to 12 weeks range, depending on which component you're talking about. So the cardiovascular component of the VO2 side, probably a little bit more in that 2-week side, and then the hypertrophy, explosive, all the rest of that stuff is going to be a little bit longer. So you have some time, right? I know we beat ourselves up as professionals when you miss a couple days. You're like, damn, I got that Jones in me. I got to get back underneath this bar. I got to lift. I got to do something like that. It's probably not going to be as bad as we see, So that was the good side of that. And I like to hear that we don't necessarily have to be, constantly in the same pursuit all the time. It's okay to take a little bit of time off, but make sure you get back to the work is really the moral of that story.
Hey, man, if you don't use it, you lose it.
Apparently in this one case, and exclusively in this one case,
that worked
Kyle,
in like 8th grade. Like in real life, you can't pull that.
I'm going to let him get that in this one case, and then we're going to keep it to this context and not let it go any further. But when we move into this next situation, okay, this is the bad, but there's a question mark inside here. Because I don't know if it's necessarily bad. I like to pose this to you, gentlemen. You decide if it's bad or not.
Bad.
ClassPass predicts...
Oh, we already bad. I don't want to hear nothing else.
So before we get into that, okay, let me set it up. So ClassPass has now predicted how wellness trends in the office culture will start to take place in 2020. So ClassPass, for those who don't know, historically is a membership aggregator. So that means that they are really good at pulling members from all different places and putting them together. And once they have them, they're a discovery platform on their B2C side, or their B2B side, right? So if I'm a gym, I put my gym on ClassPass so that large amount of people can find me at a discounted rate and probably get a little bit more access to my space, right? So was their initial model. Now, as we start to look, as that hasn't played out the way that they intended, you're starting to see them look into different spaces, and when they're starting to pivoting to different strategies, including streaming, and lo and behold, corporate wellness strategies. So when they put out a press statement talking about they're predicting office culture in 2020, inherently I have to ask a question, because I know you're trying to work in this space, and now you're getting ahead of that. So one, I think that's a brilliant strategy, but I also see the spin coming much earlier, right? So 2020 is only maybe four months out, right? Really in trying to understand that. They're starting to release these things that are saying, here's the trends that are coming out in 2020. Just so happens that we are also invested in every one of these trends that were coming down. So how do you feel on the moral ethics sides of that? And then I'll give you some of the trends afterwards.
Well, first off, business-wise, that's beautiful.
It makes a lot of sense.
Beautiful. If I can turn to you and say, hey, let me tell you the things that are about to be popping, they just so happen to be the exact things that I'm doing.
Exactly.
And you believe me? Congratulations. Like, props to that. So on the business side, that's a beautiful move. Ethically, it's a lot of bullshit, but this is to be expected.
I only think it's bullshit if you don't deliver, because I think there is something and there's merit to controlling the narrative, and that's one of the reasons why I would say we hopefully are orchestrating the best possible thing over here. Because I'm a literal person. Everything I tell you I'm going to do, I'm intent on executing that. Now, it might take you a little bit of time to catch up to it, but once you do, realize that you're catching that entire wave, and that's what I see inside here. So this is three-dimensional chess that I say congratulations to.
Yeah,
Speaking
but you're saying that you predict something like as making the presentation that you're an objective third party in something, that's the unethical part. Saying, we stepping in here, so it's going to be dope because we're here, by all means predict that way, that's only sensible. But once you start pretending to be a third party and pretending you're giving an impartial information, that's when you start running in the ethical line that I can't fuck with.
That's why I am here to say ClassPass can go play in traffic. You know what I mean?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I don't like them. You know what I mean? As a person that has a studio and runs it through ClassPass, I'm not really here to support anything that they do. But I do believe that if they have predictions, sure. You know what I mean? If you're doing this, of course, people are going to be able to, look and see like, all right, here we go. This may work. This may not work. Like, I'm just not a ClassPass fan by any means.
No doubt. And I want to make sure that distinction is to KR Jones,
of course,
_
holla at me.
No doubt. He's never going to talk me out of a check, but he can talk himself out of anyone that he needs to.
I'm still here for checks.
Yes, exactly. So I just want to make sure that we made that distinction before we go on into the story, and understanding how this plays out. Again, I understand what Corey's perspective is, but what I say versus what is implicated by what I say is two totally different things, and you have to be able to understand that. So they never said that this is the things that we are doing. I'm pulling that out and I'm extracting that and trying to see inside there, but I respect the nuance that lives inside that space, because you can come to a conclusion that I didn't say. It might be right, it might not be wrong. That's where the ambiguity kind of exists, and that's why you're able to thrive on this side. But let's look at some of these actual trends that they're talking about inside here. Okay, so wellness benefits will become critical to attracting and retaining top talent. And this is across the board, not just in the wellness sector, but instead of just having a nice big paycheck and vacation days, you better be coming with some wellness stuff, is what they're saying. How do you guys feel about that?
You can definitely see a reflection of that. If you've been in some of the new buildings, there's a lot of wellness spaces being built into. I was just recently at Spotify's headquarters, and they have a whole platform, like a whole half of the floor is set up with different rooms for exercise, for recovery-based stuff, for meditation. Like, they're really putting that emphasis and focus on that. And I've seen that in a few of the newer buildings.
For sure.
For me, I'm looking at the list, and I'm just taking it in. Like, does it count if you're predicting something that's already happened?
Again, so learning how to create the narrative and step in front of the narrative is two totally different things, right? So if nobody else is making this claim and you're the first person to make the claim, even though it's painfully obvious, where do you stand? So as an observer, you can point out that that's wrong, but whose work is going to last the test of time? Only the winners get to tell what the story is going to be about. And they're getting out in front and saying, this is what happened. And then, therefore, we're also valid. So I'm remove that perspective of, okay, here is something that's right or wrong. I'm saying this is what they're doing. We're going to be left to judge whether it's right or wrong at the end of the day. Yeah. I want to skip through to the last one where they talk about peak well-being will overtake peak performance, and well-being will increasingly embrace as a long-term goal. Now, we talk about wellness culture specifically for the same reasons, right? Because I look at this market and I see, yo, this used to be a fitness thing. Much to my understanding, fitness is now changed into wellness, and wellness has a much bigger play. Seeing this language deliberately inside here lets me understand where they're trying to move to. Okay, how do you feel about peak well-being overtaking peak performance?
I mean, I'm here for it. I'm here for the betterment of the people. I think my beef, let me unpack it a little bit, at least for ClassPass, is that don't get me wrong, the ClassPass structure in itself is genius. It makes sense, and I'm glad that we have it. The people that they attract is the issue that I have, is like those type of people that come in that are often entitled, they're stupid, they don't read, they just go and sign up. Like, they are the herd that just doesn't know. So that bulk of the wellness industry that has no idea how it works. So as far as the peak well-being overtaking peak performance, I mean, that shit is happening right now. Mm-hmm. So it's not like they're, like you're saying, to your point, they're stepping in front of this narrative. Cool, I get it. I mean, we're going to see how it's going to play out regardless. I just don't see the need to give credit to it yet. I'd much rather it just happen.
Right on. I respect that. Corey, you got any feelings on that?
I mean, I see the move you're making. It's a solid move. It's a solid move to take claim of narratives that you may have some leverage.
But is there anybody else that could?
That's why it's a solid
There's
move.
no other platform that is comparable to ClassPass at the moment. So it's just kind of like, if you're the only one and you make a statement, then we have to only hear it, because there's nobody else that you can make this statement to.
That's why it's a smart move to make the statement.
That's how you win.
That's exactly why it's a smart move. Like that's like looking at Amazon and going, "Oh man, nobody else can do that because you already did it." Yeah, that's
yes.
dope.
That's how you
wave.
dominate the market.
Like, that's the wave.
And that's the understanding. You know, again, there's a lot.
Shout out to your move,
right? And you got to understand what three-dimensional chess is all about. Again, going through these different spaces, understanding why tech companies are disruptive is because of strategies like this. If I'm going to be way ahead of where everybody else, if I'm in a proactive state and you have to wait to react, guess where you're going to end up? I'm going to be in that number one position. I don't know where you're going to be, but I can tell you where I am 100% of the time. So trying to be as proactive as possible in any shape of your business is always going to lead you to a different result. And I got to think about proactive spaces when I look at this next segment. We got to get to the ugly, because I'm going to proactively get involved in over here. I tried to ignore this for as long as possible. All these damn people losing their goddamn minds over all these different types of chicken sandwiches coming through. I need to voice this. No, not in the way to which we thought we were going through. So, the ugly side, right?
Take a nap.
Listen, man. I'm not
you
here.
had a sandwich already?
No.
Listen. I am not here to promote or be a part of anything that I see is associated with the actual mocking of our own culture. That's not going to be something that I'm ever here to do. But I will say that somebody at KFC needs to run the homie Aaron Magruder a check right now. Right now. Creator of the Boondocks needs to CTC, because KFC just came out with the goddamn Luther sandwich, and I am upset strictly because they took this from one of the cartoons that I know and love, and I know they ain't running Aaron a check right now. So I don't give a damn about how everybody else tastes and see it.
They legitimately
took the Luther and they made it into a real product.
It's not called that, but no, it's definitely it.
This is what I'm calling it, the Luther, because I know I watched the show and I saw it 10 years ago whenever it dropped, and I saw this chicken sandwich that is on 2 donuts.
So you
being
mean the
sold.
2 donut?
Yes. I have no opinion about anything else other than the fact that I need Aaron to get a check right now. How do you guys feel about legitimately our satire becoming real products? I don't know what's happening in this world right now.
Well, first off, I don't know if you've been paying attention to these cartoons, but they've been predicting a lot. Trump's presidency was predicted by
Simpsons.
The Simpsons. Like that, it's been happening. This just our culture where you know some of us gonna get poisoned by a chicken sandwich at some point.
Fam.
We're going to lose. Like, I haven't had one because I'm still not convinced that there's not something in them chicken sandwiches.
I'm in line with, I think, a sentiment that Lorenz Tate echoed earlier this week inside that space.
Club.
Exactly. Where we are actively invested in mocking ourselves. Look at the purchasing power that happens along with all of these different stories, right? this literally came from the boondock. And nobody at KFC could sit down in front of me and tell me that that's not what just happened. And they saw the reaction that Black Twitter had to the Popeyes thing. It was like, oh, yeah? Guess what we going to do?
What else can we do?
We're going to one-up them. I want to talk a little bit deeper inside this tomfoolery about the nature of consumption culture and purchasing power in aggregate, right? Because in that same Lorenz Tate kind of space, there's so many other things that we can capture our attention around and try to direct it towards, and we see disproportionately our power to spend can move units and can move the meter. Is there any way you guys feel that we could start a health food craze, and not in that, you know, we make the jokes about the kale, we make the jokes about all the rest of that stuff, but in a real practical, tangible sense? Could there be a health food craze that we get people really popped on?
I mean, Jay-Z and Beyonce tried that. They had that little vegan wave going for a moment. I mean, it was something.
Yeah, they tried the green. I saw that, but you got to be, I feel like, again, that's no disrespect to that team, because that team is solid and they strong, but they're not in this culture to start it. You know what I mean? So I don't know if you're going to see, first of all, Jay, when's the last time Jay posted anything online? Like, you ain't never going to catch that dude on IG and none of that stuff. There's somebody else who he's told who's hired somebody else to run all of that
that's
stuff.
That's not really worth his time.
So it doesn't come across as authentic. You know?
mean, I think of it as like the larger issue is so deeper than just consumption, because you think about shit like food deserts and neighborhoods and what's in your neighborhood and what's available at this time of night. Then you think about the economic structure of how much money you make, what you can actually afford. Then you think about your mindset, in which it's like, yo, if I got X amount of dollars and I got to feed X amount of people, and this is the only place that's open and this is the only place I can afford, then I'm going to eat a fucking donut sandwich. Like, that's all that they know. It's not like...
I'm not anti anybody being subject to the circumstances that are surrounding. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying the celebration of that
it's terrible.
Is different, right? And that's what I mean by the consumption culture, because, again, in every single part that you're talking about, yes, those are the options that you... If you're finite inside your options, that's what you're subject to. But I'm talking about the people who are going out of their way, standing in line. Like, the day that you are standing in line for a chicken sandwich is the day I lose respect for you. That's just how I feel about it.
I haven't had one of them damn
That's
things.
just how I feel. You can get at me however you need. If you're in a line, you know, just
I don't
know that
even wait in lines as is for anything. I'm walking to the front off rip. You can ask about me. I walk to the front of lines all the time. But to wait in line for something that is so minuscule in the grand scheme of life, like, I don't get it.
And that's what I'm talking about. So that's the consumption aspect of it, because we all got to be a part of something, right? Now that in this space where we can talk back to the product, this is people responding to a product and saying, this is what we want. We're part of the same thing. We're all in the same craze. That component is consumption, not just the act of you eating it, but also, hey, I'm playing around in really what's a mass marketing campaign, and you are part of it, promoting it and giving them free exposure, free dollars, all the rest of that kind of stuff. How do we take that energy and put it to something that's actually marketably useful to this community? This is really what the question is.
Don't subscribe.
Let me give you two hard pieces on that. One, talking back to where you, with Jones, where you were speaking about people being economically trapped into bad food. It's still a lot cheaper to make rice and beans than it is to go buy a chicken sandwich. It's just people understanding the difference between what that food means. It doesn't have to be the healthiest food, but homemade rice and beans is going to be a hell of a lot more nutritious for you than something from a fast food spot. But people don't, that's not what people are taught.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So changing that narrative and that way of trying to start the culture change would be having those kind of conversations and trying to get that from someone who people will actually listen to. So when we talk about imagery a lot, I don't think this just gets understood by everyone, especially people outside of the culture, is what Black people, especially, I'm using Black people because I'm Black, but what people are being seen as eating, what people are being seen as doing in regular cultural things and things that happen on TV shows, what families are seen eating on TV, what family looks like on TV, that all matters to what the culture starts to do, because people just emulate what they see. So if you show people on a TV show cooking healthy food and making vegetables and eating them like that, as opposed to eating a bucket of fried chicken, it's going to have a different vision for children growing up. And that's where that narrative starts to change. It's not just what we say, but what we show people visually, what's entrenched in the culture, what's in music videos. What are we talking about eating when we talk about food? When we talk about barbecues and cookouts and gatherings, what's being cooked in those things?
Yo, that's
and
live.
That's the whole cultural thing.
That's what's up, man, and that's live. I'm going to come in and say it like this. One, I'm going to make a bold prediction that I'm going to influence food culture in 2020, much like the good people at
Oh,
ClassPass
you?
are making
The man who
production.
doesn't eat?
I'm gonna make a bold prediction. I don't know how I'm gonna do it, but 2020, know that the 2020 food experience is gonna change.
All right,
And the
cool. In
second
20
bold prediction.
All right,
Hold on
my
one
bad.
second. Second bold prediction is that somebody somewhere at KFC is gonna run my man Aaron a check real quick. It's like I just need him to get paid for his intellectual property. That's really the most important thing for me at this point. Y'all can keep running around with the chicken sandwiches if you want to. I'm gonna be out here setting my narrative and getting to this bag real quick. Go ahead, sir.
They ain't cutting him no check.
Yeah, he's not getting cut a check.
I want him to get the check.
And unfortunately, it's never going to be that simple. Like, on my way here this morning, I seen a dude clearly overweight, and he was eating a bag of cheese doodles for breakfast this morning. It's not even 9 in the morning yet, and that's how you start in your day. Like, how do you teach somebody to unlearn that mentality that this is okay? Like, it's not going to happen. That's your clientele. That's the dude who for lunch is going to go buy this KFC sandwich, and for dinner might go to Popeyes.
Look, how we change the world is we get on these microphones, we do it one day at a time. Now, I'm not going to say that I'm not out here to save everybody. I'm going to tell you how it is 2 times a week. You can listen if you want. Like, listen, subscribe, please do. If you don't hear it, that's on you, because I feel like I've been giving it up to everybody the same way, right? We can't save everybody. First, you got to actually want to be saved. Don't save them if they don't want to be saved. That's
Okay.
the first thing.
Okay, Pastor Troy.
Exactly. Don't save them if they don't want to be saved. We have this information. You got to be able to move these people. And since we on them topics that concern the lyrics, Kyle, in that space, you better have some stuff to move these people too that need to be saved, sir. What's going on in Lyrical Exercise this week?
She don't want to be saved.
She don't want to be saved. That's what they're trying to
hey,
tell
man,
you.
shout out to Pastor Troy. Definitely don't save her.
I
if she
thought
don't
you was
wanna
going
be
J.
saved.
Cole. I thought you was going J. Cole.
It could have gone either way.
That's where he got it from. All right. What's going on, people? For Lyrical Exercise this week, I wanted to step away from the music and step into the business of the music, right? Now, my question to you, gentlemen, is there such thing as too much accessibility to music?
Too much accessibility to music. What do you mean by that?
So, in the sense of, I think about when I was younger and an artist was dropping and they had promo after promo after promo, and then the CD comes out, you go buy the CD, you listen to the CD. I got to listen to the CD all the way through and pick the songs that I like and only focus on the songs that I do, but still know the songs that I don't like because I had to listen to the whole CD. Now with things like digital streaming platforms, I have an array of music, a library that I won't even be able to listen to in my entire lifespan. And my question to you is that too much to have?
I love that because it opens it up and stops that funnel. Because what was happening was a very small amount of people had control of whatever you got to listen to, because it had to go through major publishing companies. It had to be through major companies, and it had to get filtered through. So a lot of people who didn't look like us got to say no about what our music sounded like. And now that there's other avenues in SoundCloud and all these different ways to get music out, there's now a wider stream, so there's more opportunity to get different sound without it being filtered and controlled by people who aren't us.
For sure, man. It's one of those things that I think with the advent of everything having a little bit more access and you can get to it a little easier, it puts the onus on the people who are making the products to be better. And what I mean by that is you used to have to buy a CD, a full CD, and there might be 4 slappers on there. They might be like joints, but then you got 20 tracks of just garbage on the rest of that, right? Now that litmus test has to change, because if I don't like your song, I'm just not going to click on it. I'm not going to listen to it, right? So there is some performance metric that's associated with that where you need to be better. I understand what you're saying, but you still need to be better to get to that result that you want to do. The other aspect of that is that people across all genres, not just music, but in every single way, shape, or form, we are inhibited by the multitude of choices that we have, right? So because there's so much, the age that is coming next after the age of technology and the age of streaming is the age of curation, in my opinion, right? So we're going to have to go to people who you see, aspire to, or put at some higher esteem, and they're going to tell you, yo, this is cool. Why are they going to tell you this is cool? Because that's how it's been every single cycle through this whole space. Somebody said this was cool, and then somebody else followed it, right? Okay, so if you understand that in the age of streaming where everything is ubiquitous, every single one of these genres is now going to have somebody saying, here's my top whatever on these albums. Here's my top whatever on these shows. Here's the best podcast out, you know, and it's coming from this one source that's telling you all the rest of that stuff. Bold prediction again.
There's always going to be a Casey Kasem.
Exactly,
There's
right?
always going to be one.
Bold prediction. Bold prediction for 2020. This is going to be on the best wellness podcast list ever.
Casey Kasem was like the first that I know of. I'm sure there was people before that, but where my age caps out is the old school, like top 100 all through the weekend. He would just drop the hits. So if you got it mad early, you heard like the oldest. I think it was 50 he did, right?
Fam, you are dating me a little bit.
Yeah.
I know Casey Kasem, but I can't
I believe it was
a
a top 50, but it was whatever the top, and
So
he would go
that's
straight down.
my point of this whole thing, right? So I think of it as a library, right? If you go into a library, this library is full of a ridiculous amount of books. And to your point, cool. If somebody says, hey, Tone, you should listen to this because this is cool. This is what I listened to back in my day. You're getting a small percentage of what is actually available.
Mm-hmm.
And then the way that these streaming platforms are set up, you can only hold a recent amount of like what you're listening to. So let's say it holds the last 10 albums you're listening to. So now you're forgetting about everything that you listen to. As soon as you click on something, you're not going to see it anymore. So there's albums that dropped earlier this year that I don't even remember hearing or going back to because I have so many other things to listen to and so many other things are flooding in and it's being replaced. So
That's purposefully done because
obviously
consumption is the point, right? The more attention that I can get to you doing that, looking up stuff and going back and forth on there, my app is winning. I don't care what you're listening to or how's it coming to you. The more time I get to take away from you, I'm winning. There's a dollar associated to every one of those things that are happening. That's not by accident. That's by design. That's what everyone
I
intends
get
on
that. So that's where my point comes into the music consumption as a whole, right? So now just because I can play it whenever I want, if it gets lost, I'm never going to hear it again, regardless. So then what happens? What am I really only listening to at that point?
So
like,
make a playlist. That's that's making a playlist. Essentially, doing your own music curation is essentially giving yourself your own top 10 list. So that's how you keep track of what you wanted to hear. Is you make that playlist. But it keeps the quality of the music up because people know they're going to expire. So you can't have that thing that used to happen where you would have artists ride out for 2 more albums on the fact that they were dope a couple years back because you had to hear the album, you had to pay for it before you really heard it. Now you invest when you hear it. And if you don't like it, you don't invest again. So it's immediate. So it forces people to be immediately more innovative or at least put out a higher quality.
we can agree to disagree. But I digress.
No doubt, man. You got anything else that you want to put on that one?
As far as music I've been listening to lately, man, I'm still on that IDK album. Honestly, nothing else has really dropped in my eyes that is, worthwhile. But here we are.
Celine Dion.
Yeah,
you got that?
You can miss me with the Celine Dion.
on,
Alicia
Dion
Keys
can
did
rock
drop
that.
a track. Hot take. I feel like Swiss Beats ruined her career, but that's just me.
Okay.
Yeah,
Shout out to Alicia for catching a random stray.
She did.
She just caught shrapnel.
When
fam.
they got
For no
together,
reason.
we didn't get no more music. That's
Fam.
all I'm saying.
I want somebody to hug you today because
What you
got a
mean?
lot of energy that don't make sense to me right
what
now.
do you-
How?
Swiss Beats been putting tracks out like crazy.
When him and Alicia Keys got together, Alicia Keys stopped making good music. What did she make? Fire? That song was trash, and you know it was trash. You're not listening to that.
If you see Kyle today, make sure you give him a hug. I don't know what
I
happened to this
don't
brother.
want no hug.
Give
I
him a
want
hug.
better music from Alicia Keys.
Give him a
Hey,
hug as you see
fam.
him out in these streets. He seems like I thought the waters of the Gowanus was purifying.
No, it's not. We out here, we choking
Yo,
folks and throwing
I
them in
just
the
wanna
water.
Point out that
I don't know
since,
what's going
since
on.
you've been heavily on your hundreds of hours of yoga,
He's getting more hostile.
you have been more and more aggressive. I feel like yoga ain't doing the way yoga's supposed to do for people.
but hostile in reasons that have legitimately no point. It's
Yeah,
just kind of
like-
all right,
Like, yo,
cool. You took Alicia down.
Why
a peg.
Wonder Bread crust got thicker than it was last year?
It's like, yo, that's the hill you want to die on. All right, fam.
Why the bread got to be white? You know what I
It's
mean?
like, all right, shout out to that. Okay,
real questionable levels of emotional investment, my guy.
I feel your power in standing your space, and I recognize that the union of Alicia Keys and Swiss Beats is something that you found offensive. I understand why that's KR Jones.
No, I love them
_
being together. I hate that her career no longer exists.
That's really appreciate
the connections you make. Yo, why the mango lady always got to put the chili on? I don't want chili on my mangoes.
Listen,
like, you just really interesting rants.
And people ask me why I don't pay attention to other shit, and it's things like that, you know. But on that note, we're gonna keep this thing evolving. Hopefully, my mindset could get recalibrated in this next space. Corey, what you got going on in that mindset this week, man?
Let's talk about that mind calibration or recalibration, so to speak. Cultivating your own mood. So mindset today is going to be about that mood cultivation, putting yourself in the position to be in the mood that you choose to have, conditioning a response to environmental factors and manipulating those so that you can change how you feel. I'm sure you guys have all had a moment where like you feel a certain way and you're trying to get out of that mood, right? So talking about how you can get yourself out of that mode using music, using lighting, using different things to enact that change and change how you feel about that mode. What's your go-to tone? What's your thing you do? I know you get up in the morning, do your little meditation in 4 a.m. before the sunrise, before the crow cocks.
I'm ready to rock. You want to hear some real talk? Again, I put this out there and I say it. And I want people to understand me for what I'm saying when I say it, but it always is misinterpreted in somehow, some way. I'm an extremely literal person. I mean only what I say, and I mean exactly that. That's the only things that you should have in that expectation. So when I say, I go back and I listen to Off the Strain and listen to the words that we actually say, that changes the whole outlook. Because it's like, oh, we got some gold on these microphones. This actually could shape your life. So hey, if I'm feeling a little funky, I got a whole 75 different things to go back through in the catalog and listen. You know what? These motherfuckers is dope. I got to listen to this shit more often. I got to put my head on the right way and change my mood, alleviate all that stress, take it in a different direction. We give out a lot of this stuff. Are we taking it back in when we hear it? Because I know I have to. I have to make that a part of this project, you know, and that's the direction that I go. So, I mean, literally, I'm listening to my own shit and our shit that we come up with every single week. And pay attention to what you guys are saying, because you guys drop some heavy stones, right? We got to absorb that, though. Putting it out there is one thing. Listening to it is a totally different thing. And I would challenge anybody to really go back through any of that catalog. I stand on it till this day and hear something that didn't make you want to do something different. Go ahead, go back through and listen to it. I stand on that. Meet me wherever you need to meet me. Guaranteed.
No, that's real talk. I can definitely speak on that because I have checked myself based on things that I've said previously and been like, well, if I say this, I can't give this advice and not be about this. Let me make sure I'm about this. You know, so everything you say, you got to back up, and it does remind you. And we do give out some good shit. I go back and listen to Jones. A lot of times I get inspired. Sometimes I get confused, but the point is I get something.
Right on.
What do you go to, Jones?
Oh, now you confused, huh? Yeah. Got some real confusion for you. I don't say it if I don't live it, all right? So I ain't got to go back, Tone, because I live it. All right, I'm out here. Now, with that being said, my yoga soundtrack is a lot of soulful music. I know that's a real switch from me just yelling at you in your ear right now to me going to soulful music. But no bullshit. Through this yoga experience, you learn that your body can unlock different things, and I have been wild emotional because I did fucking splits on Sunday, and I have never seen my hips
like Van Damme splits. Like you did a split,
like a Van Damme split, fam. I didn't even know I could do that, ever since I'm out here. So I'm feeling all the feels, and the soundtrack to me is anything that's inspiring, anything that I can take a message from. Like the song that resonates in my mind the most is always like that Umi Says. Like when that Mos Def comes on, and just the feel of it makes me want to stretch and loosen up and just take in whatever message it is. So anything in that kind of realm, any old Lauryn Hill, anything that touches your soul when you hear it is my vibe.
That's what's up. Let me get into my long-windedness for a moment. So yeah, here we go. So one of my good friends who hit me up, and I had to put my life coach hat on as she's like telling me about her, you know, your friends hit you up like, yo, I got this problem. What can you do? Right. So one of the reasons that I got to talking about this point of cultivating your own mood is that she was giving me a lot of complaints about where her life is going, like what's going on at work, what's going on in her relationship, how she feels at home, what her interactions are with people. And she's feeling down and depressed and feeling confused about where she's going and what the direction is. And I was like, yeah, but this is your fault. you have control over how you feel. You don't have control about the actions that happen around you. You don't have control about whether or not a door opens or closes, but you do have control over how you respond to that thing. You have control over what you do based on those outside reactions. So you can't control your environment all the time, but you can control how you respond to it. And one of the things that you can do is create an environment that puts you in the right mode. So if you know that when you come home fired up, you need to be in a darker place, cools you down. Turn the lights down so you walk into a cool house. If you know that lighting makes a difference for you, change that lighting. If you know a song makes a difference for you, you know you got your yoga soundtrack. You know you got what you listen to on your podcast that brings you into a certain mode. Get to that place. Don't let your mode take over you. Find outside resources and a step that you can go to start taking back your mood. Because you can control what happens. You can't control what happens to you.
Hell yeah, man. And again, just to reiterate, this is a space this is why I am the way I am. You know, I try not to have extreme swings in any of the spaces that I'm in because it allows me to set that tone to be extremely in the middle. It's just like, all right, somebody can walk in. Literally, most of the time, people come up to me usually for a problem in some way, shape, or form. That's not hyperbole. I solve problems, right? And point blank, simple, plain, take it however you want. The day that somebody comes to me and they have a solution is a day that I'm in shock. That's just across all the boards.
That ain't how we live.
I'm having an issue with this. I'm having an issue with that. And I'm having an issue with that. That's why my response is never changing because it's always going to be at the behest of somebody else's whim, right? So if that is the sense, the first thing in triage that you learn is that my response can't be elevated, right? So if I'm responding to an emergency and I'm excited over crazy, guess what happens to that situation? It ends up being losing the control of the situation. People can go into different states, you know, people can go into shock, all the rest of that kind of stuff. So that's why I approach all of these situations the same way. Listen, is anybody actually going to die? Okay, if that's a no, then we probably are overreacting in some way, shape, or form. By and large, most of the time, those are not the examples that what you do. That's why I'm not impressed when we come inside those spaces, right? So I'm not going to let you take away my control in that space. And that's why I practice and reiterate that practice every single day. Yo, this is where I'm at. This is where I need to be. Keep myself in check because all the chaos that surrounds that, it doesn't matter at the end of the day. You need a solution. And I know 9 times out of 10 who they're looking at for that solution. So I can't have that emotion and be all over the place and be erratic about whatever's going on because we still got to get the goddamn job done. Point blank. And if you want to wear that hat, know what comes along with it. You know, you got to have the stripes on your arm. Make sure that you coming in with that same level of energy. Make sure that you putting in that same type of work that you can have concise, logic-based thoughts underneath duress. Otherwise, it's not really something that you should be doing.
I think one thing we need to point out to folks who are listening is that Tony and I are a great example of looking at things from completely opposing views, but still getting to the same result and just approaching it from a different way. For instance, Tony's attitude and approach to emotionally invested things is that he's generally not, and he puts his life toward not being invested into emotional things and separating himself from it and then being conditioned that when things are removed, he's not upset by it because he didn't expect it to be there. And then I go the other route of immersing myself into emotions so that I can fully understand them, so that I know what's going on around me, so that I'm not affected the same way other people are because I understand what they're doing and what I'm doing. So it's a completely different way of approaching it, but coming to the same conclusion of not letting these emotions fuck with you.
Yeah, I appreciate emotional intelligence. It's just not something that I invest heavily in because a lot of the time you need a real practical, tangible result. The world doesn't work on your emotions. And this is the first time you're hearing it, sorry, but the world doesn't care. No matter what's going on, the rest of the world is still going to be moving.
The world gives a fuck not.
So this is why that's my starting point. There's logic to it. If the world had rewards based off of another behavior, I would cater to that behavior. But because the world doesn't care, why should I? And then inside of that, if I need to have distance to make a real logic-based decision, I don't want emotion getting inside there. So if I'm attached to this decision in some way, shape, or form, that might inherently change the way that I need to move on that. At any point in time, you got to know that I'm ready to hit that button. Has to be that way. And that's why we move the way we move. You know, because at a moment's notice, okay, we got to change the situation. This is how it's got to go. And the world doesn't care. So that's why we got to go forward. It's not that I'm not invested in it. I just don't see the result that I need to get out of that. And making investment strategy is about that return on investment. If you want my time, this is what I have to do. This is what I have to put that energy into. And this is why I respond the way I respond.
Yeah, and in not disagreeing at all, but still doing it differently as I look at it, and from the aspect of I know that everyone is affected by emotions and everyone else is being affected by emotions. So I want to understand them so that I can help predict and understand how people move. And by understanding how my own emotional response would be, I then get the understanding on how to control it. So it's like immersion over avoidance is essentially coming to the same conclusion. Joe, how do you look at it, Jones?
I mean, being as though I'm very much in the middle of the both of you. Like, granted, I just said I know I'm emotional as fuck from teacher training right now, but I don't expect a handout or I don't expect anything from the world to change because of how I'm feeling. At the same time, I empathize with people to a certain point, and then that's when it's like, all right, fam, so not necessarily man up, but deal with your shit. Like, be an adult about it. It's that simple. Like, nobody's here to baby you or cater you. If you need help, I can help you in that direction. If you don't take the help that I give you, then that's on you, and I'm not going to waste any more of my time trying to help you get through your shit.
That's what's up. I think I see a solution inside here, guys. So how do you feel about official merch? Because we still need to get merch ready for season 2, and we're still going through this whole space, and eventually we're going to get this together to get this understanding out. But along with the apparel that's definitely coming, let's just put that out there, right? How about we have a tipping jar, if you will, right? Something to make you a little bit easier for you to weigh out your pros, your cons. I would say for the emotionally invested, the fucks to give, and then the emotionally detached, no fucks to give jar. It could be dual purpose. You can put money inside. You can take your money out, right? I have no more fucks to give. Sorry, I'm on this side.
That makes
or
sense.
You can reinvest. Exactly.
I was lost for a while.
It was going to bring it back.
Now
but
me?
I found the light.
You found the light off the
Now
string.
me, I gives fucks.
See?
You?
I gives.
I'm taking from yours.
Yeah.
I gives fucks hard.
And
That's
putting
what's
them
up.
in my no fucks to
I
give.
gives the
No fucks to
hardest
give.
fucks possible.
That's what's up. I don't know why you're making that eye contact with him when you're saying that. So that's a
Why?
little questionable. Usually,
I wouldn't even know he was doing that. I didn't know why.
I was looking at mine. I was
He was
like,
paying
"Yo, what's up,
attention to
man?
eye
How you doing?"
I'm trying to understand between the eye contact and the body rolls. I'm trying to understand what you got going on, but I ain't even mad at you, man. But know that season 2 merch is coming down through the way, folks.
Facts.
Trying to make this whole thing rock, fellas. Before y'all cut out, you got anything you need to let the people know that's going down in this next upcoming week? Y'all
No.
hot in these streets? What's going on?
I mean, I'm always hot in these streets. You better ask about me. But
right.
Whoa.
I got nothing.
Corey, what you got going on in these streets out here?
Man, I'm going to be back on these body rolls. I'm gonna be
Okay.
keeping it nice and
Body
loose.
rolls and eye contact.
Body rolls and eye contact. Serious eye
aggressive.
contact. I'm a whole that. You might catch eye contact on the train too. I'm tired. Let me tell you. I'm gonna give you some energy right now. I'm gonna let something go.
Okay.
All right. Look
Corey's
here.
waking up. He's ready
I'm
for
real
it.
sick of these dudes. Yo, it's cool if you need a penny. It's cool if you need a penny. I don't need your song, fam. I feel like we need an option. You can get on the train and be like, yo, does anybody want to hear my song? Because
Like somebody singing,
I will give you
actually?
$1 to not sing to me right now, fam. Like, real talk. I'm not trying to hear your song on the train. I already got my headphones
So you
on.
trying-
Don't
you
try to
trying to give
beat
him a
my
buyout?
beats. Don't try to beat my beats. I'm going to have this $1 ready. Yo, fam, mariachi band, here. Hold this $1. Don't
Just
play
stay
that
quiet.
fucking song.
So he's paying to play nothing in that option. That's what's
I'm
up.
here for that.
Sounds
I'm
like
happy.
you need Uber, fam.
I'm here
Yeah,
for that.
the quiet button. You need a quiet car in the MTA. Shout out to that. We just developed a new thing, quiet cars.
The quiet
on the MTA.
car, yeah, with drinks on it.
Making that work.
We
You
need
know,
drink
I
card.
don't know if I'm drinking anything off the MTA train. That's
I
not
will
me.
pay you $1 to shut up.
I'm staying off of that one. I'm gonna be out here
The
next
backflip
week.
dude, yo, if the spin kick dude,
Nah, you can keep all of them. Yeah,
Showtime.
I have shut them down a couple times. I've
not
seen
here
them
for
put
it.
a little boombox on and be like, fam, nah, not today. Too many people on the train. No,
We gonna get to
you
that.
kick me, I'm kicking you.
I appreciate that, man. So I'm gonna be out here next week at that Canal Street Market, pulling up with the homies for that motion picture joint dropping. It's gonna be another enticing conversation. We out here moving into different verticals. So I served you the fitness, I served you the tech. Now we coming inside and we serving you this art. Please pay attention. Bold prediction: I'm running the whole goddamn table 2020. Please understand how I feel about the situation. Okay. Once again, folks, it's been another one of them goddamn greatest episode of Off the String. Somebody got to bring this energy in
I
here.
feel splendid.
I'm a trainer called Tony.
I'm KR Jones. Don't hug me.
There we go. Hug Jones if you see him. His hips is open.
Mr. Corey, come hug me.
Exactly. Peace and much love to y'all. Until next time, we'll see you soon.